welcome back to the Your Pretty Pennies YouTube channel. I'm Taryn Jones, financial success coach and lifestyle designer. And today I'm coming to you with a heartfelt but good video. I wanted to talk about my journey from going from working a 9-to-5 to being a stay-at-home mom as a single mother. And for those of you who are new around here, welcome. If this is your first time watching me here on my YouTube channel, thank you so much for coming and watching this video. Please take a moment and subscribe below, and also give this video a like and share this with someone you know, especially a single mother that you know, because this video is good and it's not a lot of content like this out there, and I really want to reach the lives of women who are single and are working a 9-to-5, but they really want to be at home with their kids more. They're experiencing a lot of mom guilt and feeling like they have to choose between, working long hours versus spending time with their children because of money and other things. All right. This video, although I have my notes, y'all know I keep my notebook. Although I have my notes, I really want this to be a heartfelt conversation, a heartfelt video, and for you to truly hear my heart. It might be a long one, sis, so you might want to get some tea. You might want to get you something to drink, a little snack, and watch this video, because the first part of it is going to be my journey a little bit, and then the second part is the tips and steps that I will give to someone who is a single mother that's trying to transition from working a 9-to-5 to doing more at-home work, working from home, a home-based business, so they can put their kids first and their kids' schedule first. All right. So, as you may know in my last few videos, I am engaged. I've been engaged since August of 2019. However, what some of you may not know is that I've actually been a single mom for the last 10 years. So I had my daughter back in July of 2009 when I was in college, smack dab in the middle of being a full-time college student, going for biology pre-med degree. And it was a struggle. Sis, the struggle bus pulled up and stopped and sat up on my doorstep for a few years until I graduated college, right? So I was a full-time college student, part-time working at the local hospital, and I was a whole mom, a whole single mother. So, I started talking about finances in the beginning of my blogging and video and content creating journey, because financial freedom and financial management and financial stability was a major part of my life back then. For me, that was the key for me to kind of gaining ground as being like a better mom and a better, woman, was to manage my finances properly. Because like I said, when I was in college full time and I was working part time, all the money that I had literally went towards household things and, managing our lifestyle, so much so, and it wasn't enough, right? So when I was in college, I was using student loans, even though I pretty much had a full ride to college. Like, the only thing we truly had to pay, and I say we as my mom and I, because my mom was helping out at some point with like tuition and the little bit of tuition I had to pay, and also room and board and living on campus and things like that. But the only thing that I really had to come out of pocket for was meals, room and board, and then I decided to move off campus. A lot of my tuition was covered up until 2009 when the recession hit, and that's when I lost a lot of the private scholarships because those funds went bankrupt, right? So long story short is I used a lot of money from, financial aid and things like that in order to fund my daughter and I's lifestyle. And I moved back home with my mom, and then also along with that, I also started to take personal finance classes. And this was a game changer. When I went back to school after she was born, I remained full-time, but I started taking personal finance classes and also started self-studying personal finance, wealth building, how to manage money, how to build a business, like how to be financially free, how to, debt repayment, savings, all of those things I started to self-study while I was in college. Now, again, I was working full-time. I was in school full-time, working part-time. I was literally living off student loans. and any other help that I can get from my family. So therefore, I wasn't actually in the place to kind of execute the financial plan that I was creating. But oh sis, trust me, I was studying, and I was studying hard, and I told myself I don't want to wait until I get into a better place to learn how to manage money, because otherwise I'm just going to revert back to how I was managing money. What I want to do is I want to learn and study and learn how to manage money now, even though I'm strapped for cash. So when I do have a better income once I graduate, I already know what to do with that money. And that's exactly what I did. I graduated in 2012. Once in 2012, I went from working at the hospital part-time to working at a major manufacturing company. With my biology degree, I was able to triple my income, work in research and design, became a quality engineer. And again, I started making a lot more money, but at that time I knew how to manage money because I was studying that and researching that before I actually had it. So that is a really good key. So yep, start working there, working full time, long hours, loved my job, but I was working long hours. And so I went from being strapped for cash, being in this struggling single mother that was also a college student, to being a single mother who barely seen her child. And if anybody who knows me knows, since I was 8 years old, I have been obsessed with children, obsessed with the idea of being married and having tons of children. When I was little, I wanted 12 children. I'm now down to about 5 or 6. Like, I still want at least 5 children. I have 3 already between my fiance and I. But I want at least 12 children. And so motherhood and marriage was extremely important to me. Like, that was something that since I was little, I felt like I had an anointing on my life, a calling on my life to be. So you can only imagine that by being a single mother, working full time, barely seeing my child, barely having quality time. She has to go to before school care and after school care in order to accommodate my work hours. Plus she was going to school all day, in kindergarten. You can only imagine how guilty I felt and the level of mom guilt that will wash over me each and every day when, it's 6 o'clock and I'm picking her up from after school care. She has to be in bed by 8:30 just so she can get up and go to before school care in order for me to get to work on time. Like, there was no quality hours. I did not feel like I was nurturing her enough. I did not feel like I was training her up enough. She would be crying at school and telling, her teachers that she's seen my mom, her grandmother, more than she's seen me, and she really just wants me at home. Listen, girl, it was terrible. And again, I went from, not struggling financially. I'm paying off debt. I'm executing my financial plan. I got money in savings and all this. However, I was sacrificing my daughter and I's relationship, my ability and my desire to be this nurturing full-time mom for the sake of my financial plan, right? And so neither spot felt good. It did not feel good being a full-time college student and a struggling single mom at the same time. That did not feel good. Let me tell you, financially it did not feel good. However, but once I got into a good financial position, it did not feel good with me how little I see my child. And so at that point, I knew I had to change my life and change the way I did things again. And so what did I do? You already know. I researched and I studied and I started looking at other women who stayed at home and worked from home and how they did it. And that was truly a game changer because, in the Black community, if you are a Black woman watching this, I know you can attest to this, that you don't see a lot of stay-at-home mothers nowadays. Nowadays, you see a lot of moms, especially young moms, who are working a 9-to-5 and they're working long hours. They're dropping their kids off at before school care, after school care, depending on them to go to school. They're really not having a lot of quality time with their children and allowed to stay at home and everything else, even if they're married. And so what I started doing is I started seeing women of other nationalities and, even men upholding the ability for a woman to stay at home and for them to nurture their children and take care of their children. If they decided to work, they work from home and did home-based businesses. that was a game changer, because to be honest, the only reason why I went to school for biology is because I knew I wanted to help women. This was my thought process going into college. I knew I wanted to help women, and I knew that I wanted to change lives and impact lives. So I thought going to school to be a dermatologist, which is a type of doctor, I would be great at that, right? And so I went to school for biology. However, I ended up going to school, going and working at the hospital to get direct patient care hours. If you've ever been on the pre-med track, you know all about that. And I realized that that wasn't my calling. That wasn't the purpose of my life. Fast forward to about 26, 27, when I started my blog about finances and things like that, and I started working with women, I realized I really loved it. So once I launched my business, Your Pretty Pennies, back in 2014, it was a few years before I started, realizing that although I was working at this company and I was making darn good money, that was not satisfying me. I wanted to do something to where I could be the mother and woman that I wanted to be without having to sacrifice, my job and my income and everything like that. But I also didn't want to, sacrifice my role as being being a mother at that time, and also a woman, for my job, right? And for money, essentially. So I started looking at these women. Was like, y'all know I'm a little rebellious. Y'all know I am the type to where it's like, if I put my mind to something, listen, sis, I'm going to do it. And I know God made me that way. And he put this mantle on my life, on how that I live my life, and how I'm teaching other women and sharing other women how they can live their life with more work-life balance, because I was determined to achieve it. A lot of women will say, oh, work-life balance is a myth. It's a mythical unicorn. Not for me, sis. Like, you could do whatever you want to do, especially if you're filled with the Holy Spirit. You could do all things through Christ who strengthens you. And so I truly believe God was like, okay, this is what you want. Let's talk about how to get it, right? And so I took the steps that I'm going to tell you here. Is seven tips that I'll give you, that when I started off, and it allowed me to have a smooth transition into being a 9-to-5 woman, working all the time, crushing it and excelling in the workplace, to being a stay-at-home mother who's crushing it in a business, but don't have to sacrifice my time with my child and my ability to train her up, my ability to be the woman that I desire to be, to do the things that I desire to do, okay? It's been almost 3 years since I've been living the at-home lifestyle, and I absolutely love it, all right? So step number one is I started to view God as my provider. Again, like I told you, back then when I gave my life to Christ years ago, and, I basically told him, all right, Lord, I am feeling anxious. I feel a ton of mom guilt. I do not want to have to choose between working with women and making an impact in this world and fulfilling my God-given purpose and child rearing my child, right? I don't want to have to choose between feeling like I could be this ambitious woman versus being a great mom, right? And so, like I said, I researched and I understood what women did when they work from home, how to create a home-based business, how to generate income from your home, how to manage everything. But also, I started to view God as my provider, all right? And this requires relationship with the Lord. So step number one is to look at God as your provider. This was a game changer, because before then, I thought my job was my source, my ultimate source. I thought my child's father and child support was my ultimate source, and I could tell you some stories on how that turned out. I could tell you that I looked at everything and everybody else as a single mother as my source but God. And so the first thing that on this journey to becoming a stay-at-home mompreneur, I had to reinvent my relationship with the Lord, and I had to look at him not as God, the creator of the world, but God as the Father, my ultimate high Father, who desires to grant me the desires of my heart. And if my desire of my heart is to be a stay-at-home mom and to work from home and to only work when my child is in school, I have to look at him that way. That initiation of that relationship between him and I, it had to start with me. He was already there, right? And even in the Bible, you see through and through that the women of the Bible were taken care of, and that the men were supposed to work, and women are supposed to receive and be provided for, and, do and make work with what is given to them in their household, as far as money, as far as resources and things like that. And so for me, I had to understand that, and I had to switch my mode of thinking of, I'm the head of household to God is the head of my household, right? I have to almost look at him as like he's the husband and I'm the wife, in order for make this stay-at-home mom thing work like a traditional husband and wife do. I have to look at him and say, okay, Lord, here's what I need for the month. This is the amount of income I need to come in. This is what my child needs: clothes, shoes, school supplies, whatever it is that I need for that particular month. This is what I'm believing for. And you have to have faith and believe that God will send people and resources and blessings and things, and open up doors and move things around to make sure that you get what you desire. But it all starts with that relationship. If you don't believe that God will show up in your life and do that for you, it won't happen. Because time and time again, Jesus said, I did not heal you, your belief healed you. And so over and over in the Bible, we see that your belief in whatever it is that you're doing is so key, because if you say something but you don't believe it, it's not going to come to pass. All right. So step number 1 is to believe that God desires and delights in granting you the desires of your heart. And you have to establish that relationship with him. And you have to have that fundamental belief that's saying, each and every month, I know God will see me through. I know I will get exactly what I need, exactly what I want, in a timely fashion, right on time, because God is always on time. All right. Tip number 2 is keep money in the bank. So again, transitioning from being a 9-to-5er where you're getting a check every 2 weeks and you can budget based on your check, being a stay-at-home mother is very, very different. Being a home-based business owner is very, very different than being a 9-to-5er. Oftentimes when we're working a 9-to-5, we think it's very stable because we know how much money is going to come in. We know when we're going to get paid. When you are a home-based business, you can start building in some things, to where okay, I do a membership group every month. I know, membership dues are going to come the 1st of the month or the 2nd of the month or the 15th of the month. So you kind of know sometimes where you're getting paid, but when you're working with clients, or when you have to work one-on-one with other people, or even doing things like YouTube or different irregular income, you don't know the amount that you're going to earn each month necessarily. And you don't know if you're going to get a lot of clients that month, a little bit of clients, any clients at all. You don't know if anybody's going to renew their membership per month. So you really have to have a lot of faith in the Lord that he will provide, and he is your source. Because remember, your business is not the only source that God uses to get to you. He uses people. He can use your church family. He can use a person on the street and give you $10,000. You don't know how it will come, an inheritance. You don't necessarily know how that income will come through to you. But at the same time, you don't know how little or how much will come each month. So you have to have money in the bank and know how much you need in order to run your household. You know what I'm saying? So you have to have money set aside in the bank to make sure your expenses are covered on the lean months. All right. You always want to make sure that you put something away for the future, something away for a rainy day, right? So that was a big thing for me, is I always kept 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses in my savings account, so that whether or not business was booming that month or if it was a slow season, I always was able to take care of home and not have to rush back out into workforce and get a part-time job and do all these other things and kind of disrupt the lifestyle that I was creating for myself and my daughter for the sake of money. All right. Tip number 3 is to create a support system / village. this is going to be huge because being a stay-at-home mom, you don't have coworkers and bosses and, other people that you can talk to on a daily basis. So not only is this tip really good for mental health, but things like childcare. When you are a stay-at-home mom, you are not probably going to opt into putting your children into expensive childcare because you don't necessarily have the disposable income to cover it, especially starting off. When you are first starting off and transitioning into single stay-at-home momhood is what I like to call it, or stay-at-home mompreneur, you really want to keep your expenses low and allow your income to increase as you get into the swing of things, as you get into the swing of your schedule and everything. So childcare is one of the first things that can go because you're at home. However, because you're at home, and if you have smaller children that are not school age and they don't leave the home throughout the day, you do need things like people like your parents, your grandparents, friends and neighbors and things like that can keep your kids for a few hours so you can have a break, so you can get caught up on work, so you can work and not have to be, bothered with cleaning or chores or your child bugging you. Like, you can have your undivided attention towards what it is that you want to do, whether that's self-care, whether that's your business, whether that's just getting some cleaning done. So activating your village starts with you. You have to say, hey, I am transitioning into single motherhood. Again, don't ask for permission. Just tell them what you're doing, because if it was up to my mom, I would not be living the lifestyle that I am today. My mom was like, why are you quitting that job? You are nuts. You need to be back working. You are a single mother. How are you going to be able to stay at home? And now that I'm doing it, she can see that it's possible. But again, God will give you a vision for being a stay-at-home mom and working from home. He won't give that vision to everybody. So you cannot get mad at those around you, and you cannot get mad at your village because they don't understand what you're doing, or even your husband. If you're trying to go be a stay-at-home mom from working a 9 to 5 and you are married, your husband might not understand it. You kind of just have to do it and show them that, saying, God has shown me a way to do this. He has sent this woman in my life that's giving me tips on how to do this. I know it can be done. Here's how. And you have to work with them and show them that it can be done, and then give them grace when they're kind of like not on board with you. All right. But yeah, you need to make sure that you have a village. You have to activate it. It is on you to say, hey, I'm going full time as a single mom or as a stay-at-home mom, and I'm working from home. I'm going to start doing some work from home things to generate income. This is how I need support, whether it's just emotional support, whether it's just social support. Like, it might not even be financial support. Sometimes it might be, sometimes it might not be. And you have to be okay with that, all right? And then you have to say, this is what I need from you. And if they oblige and if they're on board, great. If they're not, you need to find somebody else. Oftentimes, your village is not necessarily your parents, your grandparents, and your cousins, uncles, sisters, and brothers. It might not be anybody in your family. It might be mentors, people at your church, in your church family that God is calling, into your life to help you manage your new lifestyle, all right? Tip number 4 is great money management skills. Being money savvy and resourceful and creative with getting things done on less is going to be key. Again, starting off as a single mother, your goal is not to necessarily match the income that you are making at your 9 to 5. Your goal is to say, okay, this is how much I need each month to run my household. I need to create, income streams, which we'll get to in two more. Next step. The next step will be how to get more income streams into your household as a home-based business. But anyway, your goal is not to necessarily match the income that you need from your 9 to 5. Your goal is to secure enough income to where you can live off of comfortably at the beginning, at the start, and then as you get into the rhythm of things, then you start increasing your income, especially when your kids go back to school and you got more time in the day to yourself. So for example, it was not my priority to make $72,000 or $80,000 or $90,000 a year when I went from going from working my quality engineer job to being a stay-at-home mom. No, my expenses were only $2,000 a month. Therefore, I only was interested in securing $2,000 a month because it was higher priority for me to be at home with my daughter in the beginning than it was to make 80 grand a year, right? If your goal always is to maintain the lifestyle you desire, and right now you're living on 80 grand, then that will be your goal. But for me, even though I made a lot of money, I didn't live off a lot of money. I had a large disposable income, which is why I was able to pay off thousands of dollars a month back then, because I had more disposable income than I had expenses. So transitioning into a home-based business, my desire was not to match that 80K. My desire was actually to be a stay-at-home mom and to spend more time with my child, and for the Lord to grant me and to tell me how to make money, how to get these streams of income going to where I can make at least $2,000 a month. That was my goal, $2,000. Anything extra was great, but $2,000 a month, that was it, right? And so you got to be good at money management skills, because when you go from making 80K to, let's say, 30K a year, you have to be resourceful enough to make sure that you can sustain your lifestyle on that 30K instead of that 80K. Right? Or 50 or 60, however much you're making at your 9 to 5. So that is the key. You have to find out how to do more with less. You have to realize, again, you're not going to be using childcare. You probably won't have the highest internet cable package that, Comcast or Spectrum cable offers, right? You might not be shopping at the high-end stores. You might start thrift shopping. That was one of the reasons why I got into thrift shopping, was because I still wanted to look good, sis, but I didn't want to pay all that money that I was used to pay by shopping, and buying the latest and greatest items and things like that. So I found a way to alleviate that by thrift shopping. And so I'm really good at finding really good brands, really high quality brands and luxury brands, but I pay a fraction of the cost. So I keep my costs low, so therefore I can make sure that my priority is being met every month, which is staying at home and not having to work a 9 to 5. All right. Step number 5 is to create several streams of income that is home-based. Again, this is going to be especially true if you have small children and you can't necessarily drop them off all the time. My daughter, when I went from being a 9 to 5er to a stay-at-home mom, my daughter was already in school full time. She was going to school 6, 7, 8 hours a day because she was in kindergarten already. So therefore, for me, she was already in like 1st or 2nd grade, I think it was, when I started working full time, or started working full time for myself. So my thing was, I'm going to work when she's at school. So for you have to create a schedule, which is going to be step number 7, talking about time management. You're going to have to create a schedule around your kids' schedule and how old they are. And hopefully they're at school age, or hopefully you have parents who are retired or something like that, where you can get help during the day so you can kind of execute for a few hours some things, some business things to get done. But even if you can't, learning how to work at home with a toddler, with a small child, is absolutely doable. You might have to work less hours a day, but it's absolutely doable, because again, the goal is not to be rich and stay at home. The goal is to make enough money so where you can stay at home with your child as a single woman, right? So you have to create and think about different ways, whether it's being a virtual assistant, whether it's starting your own business where you're coaching or mentoring, or, putting out content, whether you're a YouTuber, whether you, do Uber, Ship, Lyft. There's so many things that you can do as side hustles, as businesses, as home-based business for other people, and help other people from the comforts of your own home, to where when your kids go to school, you get to work. When they come home from school, you're done with working. That is my schedule pretty much, is when Taryn's outside the home, when she's at basketball practice, when she's at school, when she's at choir practice, that is when I get things done. When she's at home, I go back into full-time mommy mode, and that will be the same way that I structure my schedule once I become a wife. When my husband's at work, I'm working. When he comes home, I'm wife. When my kids come home, I'm mommy. I'm no longer working. I'm no longer that mompreneur, right? So you have to, get creative, look online, if you already have a side business or you already have some side hustles, before you quit your 9 to 5, think about how you can generate income and how much you need to generate in order to take care of your bills, how many days you need to work, and all those different things to make sure you have streams of income to where you can absolutely cover your bills while you're being a stay-at-home mom. Now, also, I want to say is that, going back to step 1, when thinking of God as your provider, sometimes we over-spiritualize things and think that money is going to fall out the sky if God is telling us to stay at home more. No. Most of the time, your income, your increase, whether it's just starting off as a stay-at-home mom or building up like income, for example, I was a stay-at-home mom for the past 3 years. My income when I first started versus now is dramatically different. I make way more money being at home for the same amount of hours than I did before, because it's a learning curve, right? Just like when you first started your 9 to 5, you had to move up and make more money and constantly get raises and get good at your job and at that company and, being more productive and everything else. The same thing goes for being a home-based business and being a work-from-home mom. It is a learning curve. And as you get better at time management, at money management, and at building a business or creating streams of income or doing more for less, things like that, you will start generating more income. But realize that the income comes in the increase from God comes from the money-making ideas, right? From the great ideas. So every time you get an idea on how to make more money, you have to execute it. As a stay-at-home mom, money is not going to fall out the sky. It requires work on your behalf. It requires you to kind of step in that role of being at work even though you're at home. It's not going to be done for you. So you're going to have that drive, that self-discipline, that self-management, and that self-mastery in order to execute it, because, it's not easy. It's not easy not having someone to tell you what to do every day, right? And so for you, you're going to have to be the one in the go seat, in the driver's seat, with generating this income, with creating these streams of income, with building your business and going to the next level and scaling your business, all the while managing your household, managing your partner as you start to get married and things like that. It's up to you, all right? So then step number 7 is great time management and home management skills. This is going to be a game changer. Like I just said, not only do you have to manage your work schedule as a home-based business or a work-from-home mom, but you also have to manage your children's schedules. You also have to manage your home schedule. So you're most likely, the reason why you want to be a stay-at-home mom is you can be more of a homemaker. You could be more homely. You could keep your house up. Your house is not cluttered all the time. You're not running in and out. You can get food on the table and make more dinners and, home meals and things like that. You just want this all around lovely domestic goddess experience. But you also have to make money in order to keep your household going, let's be clear. So you have to be able to create a schedule that would allow you to do all 3 seamlessly. There's you as a woman, and then there's your children, and then there's your business. You have to be able to cater to all 3 of those aspects of your life very seamlessly. So getting on a schedule and sticking to your schedule is going to be key. You cannot just create a schedule but then don't execute it, because something else is going to fall by the wayside, right? If you are working and become a workaholic, and the reason why you became a stay-at-home mom was to spend more time with your children, you might as well stay at your 9 to 5, right? But you can also not come into this thing thinking you don't have to work at all. You do have to do something with your hands, because after all, even though God is the head and God is the provider and you can do all things and he could bless you at any moment in any way, if he tells you, okay, you need to manage this client, you need to go live on, and build your online entrepreneur business, or if you need to go out and get clients while your kids are at school, you absolutely need to do that, right? And you need to be executing that schedule for you to do that. So these are the 7 tips that has really helped me become a successful stay-at-home mompreneur or work-from-home mom, to where I don't have to sacrifice and choose between my work life and being an ambitious woman, but also being a great mom and a present mom and a nurturing and training mom. All right. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please, please, please share this with a mom that you know, a single mother especially, or any mom who's looking to transition from being, you know, a 9-to-5er to a stay-at-home mom. All right. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comments your takeaways and if you are a 9-to-5er or you work from home. And I will talk to you in my next video. Bye.